gods and goddesses, creators to all things spirituality with yours truly, Maria Palomino, a sacred sanctuary that speaks the unspeakable and lets you in on the secrets of spiritual awakening. Introducing self-discovery, soul awakening tools that helps you remember your soul's true purpose to start manifesting a conscious reality. Every soul is unique, meaning no spiritual path is the same. Feel every conversation and let your mind, body, and soul guide you to what is unique to only you. It is the soul's resonance of remembrance. Now, take a deep breath, drop into your heart, and let us begin, beautiful souls creators. Hello, beautiful gods and goddesses. How are you? It's your host, Maria Palomino, with a very special episode today talking about my experience with the plant medicine known as ayahuasca and how it has taken a very important role in my awakening, in my spiritual awakening on this path. And yes, in many ways, it has contributed to launching this podcast as well. And here I am shooting today recording from Bali. It's about to set. I'm actually in the island of Lembongan. So enjoy the sunset while I speak to you about my journey. So let's start off by talking about what is ayahuasca and why is it that it has these amazing powers to be able to really connect to source and remember who we are and reach these alternate states of mind. And it's true, once you remember, there's no going back because you remember more of who you are, or you see who you are and what work still needs to be done here in this world as a human in this denser form that is 3D, and the work that needs to be done. But it's great because it allows you to step out and start observing, as opposed to just saying that, or not seeing at all, that you're doing anything wrong. And in essence, nothing is wrong. It's just that your perspective has changed. Your heart has softened up. There is more love. When we have more love and more compassion, we're willing to have more perspectives and be able to accept others for who they are. So ayahuasca originates from the jungle in South America. And the jungle in South America, the Amazons, touches Brazil, the Guyanas, Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, so all the Andean regions, the tropical regions, Venezuela, Colombia, Suriname, the Guyana, the small little countries that people don't even know about in South America, and much of Brazil. And ayahuasca is actually a brew that is from two different types of plants. The first plant is the ayahuasca, as they call it, and that is a vine that is put in the brew. And then you have chacruna. And chacruna is another type of plant, and they use the leaves. And the leaves are the ones that have the DMT, the molecule, as they call it, the spiritual molecule that allows you to enter this altered state. And the ayahuasca makes it easier for our body to accept it and be able to hold that space per se. So it's beautiful because you have, once again, comes like the divine union, the masculine and the feminine, to be able to hold space. And it's very important because these plants are growing in nature where there is no civilization. So they're receiving the messages from the land. They're receiving the messages from the air, from the rain, and just from the ethers, everything that's coming through. It's so pure. And which is why it's very important to know where the plant is grown, where is it coming from, how is it grown, how is it cultivated, how is it transported, especially if it's now it's reaching out everywhere in the world. You can find ayahuasca and they're growing in different areas like Hawaii, for example, which is beautiful Lemurian lands with lots of love as well. And all of that, because everything is vibration. So this plant, it's in the jungle, in the middle of nowhere, just absorbing nature, just being. It has all this wisdom knowledge, and that is brought to you to be able to tap into nature, to remember that we are all the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Ether being the element that connects all the other 4 elements where our Akashic records are held. It brings them all together, and it's they call ether because it's space, it's the ethereal form. So it's the lightest, of course. And for me, I'm South America. I was born in Peru, and I didn't migrate to the US till I was 8.5 years old. And we know energy. And the way I grew up, the way that I chose my path, I decided to be born to an indigenous family, to be a woman, and, 2 conditions that were very humble, and chose a path as well where my parents were going to be leaving me as well. So this is what I chose for me to be able to overcome. It was part of my learning. This is what my soul chose as part of what I'm here to learn and overcome. And growing up in Peru, when we were in Lima, I remember we did get to experience, and you would see, and you would people hear about, also about black magic, or people doing works, energy works to other people, and for petty stuff. And it's interesting that I'm doing it here in Bali because a lot of that exists here in Bali as well. And I didn't know it. And I've been here for 3 months now. And I thought that was interesting. And to the point where some Balinese are afraid to become successful because someone's going to do some type of black magic on them. Do not be scared from this, because you can overcome this so easily. So easily. Remember, like attracts like. So having had this background of knowing that dark energy exists, and there were bad shamans, bad curanderos, I stayed away from all of that, especially after I came to the US. And I didn't realize till later that it was no wonder that I didn't have Peruvian friends either, because I was scared subconsciously that they may do something to me, or they might know something and you don't know what's happening in the back, because I've seen it growing up in Peru. But my path was to do ayahuasca. And interesting enough, it came through a highly guarded friend after my graduation of Kundalini yoga teacher training, which is a whole 1-year training and highly, highly disciplined, doing a lot of meditations, waking up at 2, 3 a.m. every day. It creates great discipline. And even before that, I was very much, and I still am, with the Self-Realization Fellowship, with Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, with the Autobiography of a Yogi. He is one of my guides, and he's always with me wherever I go and guiding me. So I did have this discipline already. So it didn't quite cross my mind to do ayahuasca. I wasn't thinking about it. I was very into meditation, breath work, leading classes, starting to teach very much. And then I started getting curious, because this is a friend that I highly regarded. And I was already starting to have like this moment. So all of a sudden I started listening to Andinian music from the Andes of Peru, which to me brings a lot of memories, because my dad created a Andinian band called Mayuk, They even came to the house. I remember when I was in my teenage years. So it brings back many, many memories. And we've been to Machu Picchu as a family, and I've been 3 times to Cusco. So it was interesting because even before that, she was starting to talk about Rhythmia. There's this beautiful place in Costa Rica if you wanted to do it, because I was telling her my experience and how I personally wouldn't trust going to Peru because of what I know. And I personally don't have anyone that I would 100% trust or that I know of that has been to Peru, and it just had not crossed my path. So she was talking about this place about Rhythmia and how it's more dedicated for people that are Westerners. So that's what they target, which for me, it was perfect. I'm a single girl going by myself, and I want to feel safe and secure, and I want to read all those reviews. But before that, she was talking about combo as well, which I thought that was interesting. And that's another episode that's coming. That's another medicine working with a frog. And it's more of a purge, not necessarily a hallucinogen. And before I decided to go to Rhythmia, I decided to do combo. And my first experience was pretty mild, I would say, but it did bring me back to my inner child. I saw myself embracing my little girl, but that opened me up, and it brought me to the elements, brought me back more into nature, who I really am. And everything, the synchronicities, listen to the synchronicities. Literally after she told me about combo, I got to the car, I opened my mail, and there it was, to this place that I go do breath work and yoga. They're serving combo. So I went, got connected with my inner child. And I think right after, a day after, I'm at Whole Foods. And I've had so many experiences at Whole Foods. And that's the health store market, the health market in the US, especially in the grocery section. If I'm listening to music, I've had to hold my car because all of a sudden all this energy is coming through. I'm having a moment. I just think it's funny how I've had so many moments at Whole Foods while being in the grocery line. This Indian music started playing, and it just brought me back to Peru, and I was just feeling the calling. And that's when I decided to go to Rhythmia. For everyone is very different, but for me, in music, I'm sure many of you are very connected to music. It brings back so many memories. So I decided to go to Rhythmia, and the reason why, like I said, is because it is targeted for Westerners. I was a girl traveling alone, and I wanted to feel secure. And I didn't want all those amenities and feel comfortable. I didn't want to be out in the middle of nowhere in a jungle and having to walk back, who knows where, and getting lost because you're doing it by the river. And I remember I had a girlfriend maybe a decade before who wanted to go do ayahuasca. And this is before I even know what it was, but she had told me about it. And I told her, look, I have no interest in doing it, but you're going to go somewhere where you're going to go alone. You don't know who this people is. You don't know who the shamans are. I'm going to go there just to hold your hand and to protect you, basically, because you're in a state that, you're basically kind of like drunk. And I just knew, I'm like, I'll be there for you, but I had no interest in doing it. So because of that, I wanted to go to Rhythmia. And it was the best decision I made because it just, even before going to Rhythmia, I was at a Shakti festival, and it was a 6 a.m. meditation. And all of a sudden, Yogananda came in and told me it's time to go back home. And I thought he meant, Maria, you've been doing too much Kundalini yoga. You need to come back more to our temple and the ashram and, get more with the teachings of Yogananda. So what he meant is going back to me. When I stepped into Rhythmia, the breathwork teacher there was a monk at the Self-Realization Fellowship by Yogananda for almost a decade. And then I found out that Jerry, the owner, also had a locket of Yogananda's hair on the property. And if you don't know Yogananda, read the autobiography of a yogi. Steve Jobs, before he died, Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, gave everyone a gift. He was able to plan his funeral. He was able to plan his funeral before he passed away. And the gift was in a very simple paper brown bag. And it was just the autobiography of the yogi. So highly recommended. Changes a lot of people's lives. He's an ascended master. He was able to reach enlightenment in this lifetime. And he passed away in 1955, so it's not too long ago. And his teachings still stand, and the ashrams are beautiful if you want to visit them in California. So going back to arrhythmia, the synchronicities were there. I felt home. I felt comfortable. From the moment that you step into the van when they pick you up from the airport, wow, I mean, even before, but you on your way from the airport to the center of rhythmia, they have you watching a video talking about rhythmia, what your goals are, how to prepare. Everything is dedicated for your journey. Absolutely everything. So rhythmia is a 1-week program. You check in either on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you check out on a Saturday or a Sunday. And there's breath work, there's yoga. Each week they have a different guest speaker that comes in. They had Shaman Durek, they have like Nessie Gomez that goes in, they have Parashakti doing Dance of Liberation as well. They had Abraham Hicks, I believe, there too. They have many good speakers that come in that help you be able to navigate and learn more about spirituality. And now that you're being opened up more to what's out there of the realms that we can't see, to be able to help you, to support you. So I thought that was very, very neat. I was actually there when Ben Decker was there, and he's a meditation teacher. And I thought it was great. We're actually friends now. And you do 4 journeys of ayahuasca. The first night, it's a Brazilian brew made in rhythmia. That's how it was when I went, at least. And my first shaman was Scotty, who I'm always going to honor that because he was my first shaman. Then you have Brad the second night. That's who I had. And this guy's so powerful as well. And he makes his own brew. And the third night is ladies' night. I had Sarah, the privilege to have Sarah, beautiful shaman. And it's different when it's a woman serving it too. So it changes. And Thursday night, it's Yahe night. So it's another varietal of ayahuasca, but it's from the Colombian tradition. And the whole team comes in, the whole entourage, with a lot of music, with the big bombo, which is, it's a big, big drum, kind of like a powwow drum from the American Indians, but it has a different sound, which is the one that I grew up with, because it's Andean. So it was nice to see that. Really brought me back home, and something that I've been truthfully just not acknowledging and not necessarily running away from, but it just wasn't part of my life. And now I listen to that type of music all the time. So my first night, and this is what I like about rhythmia, because they prepare you. Basically, you can ask the plants anything you want, but there are some tricks and things that you can ask that's going to help you answer most of your questions. You can ask about your boyfriend, your husband, your kids, whatever it may be, right? Do I need to move houses, travel here, leave my job? Who knows? But the one question I thought it's unbelievable, it's incredible, what Jerry and the team have put together is throughout the 4 nights, if you can get through it, the first night is show me who I've become. And it's true, because once you get to know yourself, especially if you know, not only know yourself, but then you start connecting with your higher self, it knows all the answers. It knows the best way to lead you. Show me how I become. The second question is heal my heart. And the third one is merge me back with my soul at all costs. And first, you need to find out who you are. Why is it that you've developed the character that you are, the persona that you are, this identity, which is ego, all right? But which is fine. This is exactly what we came to experience. We choose the family that we want to be born into. We choose the location. We choose the financial and economical conditions. We choose the community. Everything is perfect to be able to serve the lesson that you're trying to learn. So this is already, you've programmed this. No one else. You've programmed this before you've come to this world. So my first night for me, yes, of course, I was nervous. We're all talking. And yeah, there were people that were there that were coming back for the second time. And I just didn't understand, like, why would you come back? And many people asked me as well, why did you go back after you went once? But that's coming. So my first night, it takes about 30 minutes, 45 minutes after you take the brew. They give you a little bit of the brew and it's brown. And it's really not that bad at all. The taste is actually not bad at all. And for me, I was so anxious. Instead of just relaxing, I was trying to think, am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? Everyone does this at first, and just relax. If you can go to sleep, even better. It will wake you up. The brew is just starting to know you. And then I started getting and feeling some energy. And I started seeing the sky a little. And I actually was able to get out of the Maloka. And that's what they call the place where they serve ayahuasca, kind of like a yoga shala. They call it the Maloka. And I started walking around the Maloka. You're only allowed to walk in certain places. And I saw myself as a goddess, so tall, so brilliant, standing tall. I would look at my hands and I would see all this energy. So I was able to see all my different energetic bodies that I have. And it was just a beautiful feeling to feel so majestic. And as I was like, okay, so now I'm feeling something. This is beautiful. I should go in, because you're supposed to go in and try to lay down. And as I'm stepping in, all of a sudden, these plants catch my attention. And one of them was a sunflower and another one was a cactus. The sunflower was radiating all this golden light all around. It was so beautiful. But then when I looked at the cactus, first off, I asked, where did this cactus come from? I literally thought I was making it up. The cactus was radiating 10 times brighter than the sunflower and the other plants. It's interesting because we usually think, oh, flowers are so pretty, roses. Yes. The cactus, wow, it holds so much energy. I was surprised. And yes, the first thing I did when I got out of Amaloka, I went to go see if that cactus was actually there or if I was making it up. And yes, it was there. It was so beautiful to see that. So I went back and everything kind of stopped. So I thought maybe I did something wrong. And then it was time they called to take the second brew. So you have options. Jerry always says, if you can crawl, you can take another brew. The more, the merrier. So I was fine. So I went and take a second brew. And I thought I did it wrong after I took the second brew because my first cup, the first night, was so beautiful. I saw myself, how grandiose I was, the goddess I am, all the energy. And then it took me in. And then it took me into me going back to Peru as a little girl when I lived with my grandparents. And they was scared because I was trying to look for my sister and I couldn't find it. There was things that I didn't want to see. It would take me also back to the house that I grew up in California with my mom and my dad later on. But I would see a lot of the chaos, the arguments, and then really kind of feeling lost when I was a little girl in Peru. And towards the end of the night, everyone closes. We start around 6 p.m. and around 2 a.m. they start closing everything up, closing the ceremony. And I just stayed there. And Raven, this beautiful woman that helps out, was there for me. And so was Scotty. And then all the entourage came because I was just holding on. I wasn't able to see more, but I just kept running around the house in Peru. But I just had this feeling like things weren't right. Like I can feel the pain, but then I can feel also like all my guys, like all my ancestors were there for me. So it was beautiful to see that, because I remember all the shamans came that help out during that night to see if I was okay. And then I felt behind them, all of my ancestry, all my lineage, and all my guides. But I was just there on the ground, just crying, like holding on to that pain and not wanting to see it. And then at around 5 a.m., I went back to my room. And I didn't want to miss anything about all the different activities that Rhythmia had. So I think I slept only 2 hours. The second night, we go in. So I've only slept 2 hours max, probably. I took a little nap here and there. And then ayahuasca, the mother, started taking me into more of my childhood. And it started seeing how I'm a child of abandonment. I mean, if anyone knows my story, it's very simple. My parents left, my mother left when I was 3.5 years old. What happens to a little girl, especially as the oldest, when your best friend leaves? What impact does that have on you? And it's very beautiful how things get recreated. Basically, you're recreating everything, of course, for your own learning. I have 2 little nieces, and I've spent so much time with them since they've been born, and spending a lot of time with them and taking care of them as well. So I've been able to see, how much they know, how attached they are, their little feelings, their little points. And so I was able to recognize that, how much little kids remember, because I think I wasn't able to make like certain days or certain birthdays, my only once. And I think it was just like a little trip and I couldn't make it. And they remember, they're like, where are you? We missed you. You weren't there. So imagine my mom being gone and being 3.5 years old, and got to see how I had to become very hard and just protect myself. And because of that, I didn't open up myself. I shut myself down. But recognizing that hurt so much, I was there. I was the only one left there till 8 a.m. And they had even shut down the music. And I thought they had put the music back on just for me. And it was only the music because the yoga class had started already at 7 a.m. I thought that was funny. So I didn't sleep at all, crying most of the night. I didn't want to let go. And just being able to see that truth about myself, who I had become, because I had lost my mother. And granted, yes, she left to the U.S. with my dad, because they're, cultivating a better life for us, which has been great. But as a little girl, you don't care about any of that. You just want the love and affection of your mother. So here comes the third night. So I only slept 2 hours the first night, and then the second night I didn't sleep at all. I'm a little delirious. I'm very tired. I'm integrating. You see so much, and your body goes through so much shaking and moving, purging. I actually had not thrown up personally at all. And here comes the third night. I took the first cup, and it was beautiful because that's when I got to sleep. I took the first cup that night. On the third night, and this was Women's Night with Sarah, and I just slept. And it was great because I needed that. I needed to rest. And then I hear the call for the second serving. And I was so tired. So I just talked to Mother, to the plant, and I told her, Mother, What do you want me to do? I'm so tired. Tell me what to do. As soon as I said that, it took me in so deep. It took me right in, and everything unraveled, and it started showing me so much about myself, my pettiness, my wrongdoings, how I can have it all, but how I hold myself back. My body was shaking. I was going basically like I felt like I was going into a cocoon. It showed me how bad alcohol has been for me, like to never touch it. I had already stopped drinking alcohol too, but I could just hear like how bad it was. And I can even hear like the snake on it, like how it was so bad for me. For me, I can't touch it. And thank God for me, because of meditation through SRF and Yogananda, it just disappeared. I have no desire whatsoever, which is what you want because there's no resistance. It also showed me men I had been with, the wrongdoings, desperation, and just ultimately, I mean, it all comes down to loving ourselves more, and how much more we're still just learning. We're still just children. How we live from survival. But it showed me how much more love we can have for one another. And I thought that was beautiful. And by this point, I was accepting more and more about my childhood, and I was okay with that. But it took me so deep. So it's just interesting that I did not have to take a second cup or another brew. The plant is listening to you. Even before you get there, you start building a relationship with the plant, with ayahuasca, which is why it's a calling. The work starts before. And it's kind of true because even Jerry says, oh, the park is listening. And it's true. It's listening to all the conversations you're having, because ultimately everything, it's you. And then everything that's happening, everything comes up in ceremony. And that night was incredible. So first night that I was in there till late at night, and I went to sleep at a normal time, which was 2 or 3 a.m. So I can just wake up, do yoga. I was okay with that. So fourth night, this is the Colombian tradition. Now we have yahe. Think of it like wine. Wine tastes different and so much more aggressive, so much lighter, depending on the vine, the type of grape, where it's grown, the climate, everything. So it has a complete different effect on you, the spirit as well. Well, yahe, it's still ayahuasca, it's still feminine, but it's much more aggressive. And it purges you. It will purge you. So the shamans train you before you go in ceremony. They talk to you for an hour, see whatever questions you have prior. One of the questions that Leo Cordero was my yahe shaman. He said, please try to have the yahe in your body as much as possible. Hold it. If you can, don't purge it right away. And I thought, well, no problem. I haven't thrown up at all. I'll be fine. And I was telling this guy, because he's been throwing up every single day, a lot and really loud. So I told him to make sure to try to hold it, because that's what the shaman said, because he didn't go to the class. And he was actually sitting next to me. Well, here I am in line, feeling better. Gonna take some yahe. I feel like a pro at this point. I took it. I sat down, or tried to sit down, and I tried to lay down for, I think, maybe 2-3 seconds. And I went straight to my bucket because I had to purge it out. And as soon as I purged, I went so deep. Prior to this point, my brain's always thinking, oh my God, like my family has to do this. My friends have to do this. This is so revealing. This is the best thing ever. Well, after the first minutes of having this yahe experience the fourth night, I did not want anyone to do this, because so many colors, kaleidoscopes. It was just too much. And I couldn't stand it. I wanted to stop. And then it stopped with all the different colors. And then it started showing me, and it was so beautiful how every single person up to this point, especially this last week within Rhythmia, was an angel, was guiding me. Everything that they were doing was for me. Even the ones that maybe I think are lying to me, or maybe they are, but everything is for me to awaken, to learn from that. It was so beautiful. And I even saw them like little angels, and like some were more like fairies. So it was kind of showing me a little bit of the dream, which I thought was beautiful. And then the one that I couldn't understand was, it literally slapped me around trying to tell me it's all about you. You and only you. It's not about your mom. It's not about your siblings. It's not about, especially for me, I loved my little nieces, but it's about me. And I mean, I understood it, but not how I do now, especially after finishing the I Am path, the Yo Soy path with Matias de Stefano in Egypt, and now we're doing the Dragon path. So it's discipline. You see a lot, but then you have to do the work afterwards. So that's why integration is just, it takes time. It shows you a lot, and then you have to start putting the work afterwards. It was interesting too, because it also showed me Trump, and I'm thinking, what is he doing here? I didn't even think about him. I don't watch news. But basically what it was telling me is that everything is perfect. Everything is serving its purpose, how he was serving his purpose. And me personally, I'm neutral. I see the pros and cons in everything, because I do understand that there's a much higher intelligence, and everything's divine. It's in divine timing, and we're experiencing exactly what we need to experience in order to grow collectively and raise the vibration of this planet. So I thought that was very interesting how he brought Trump. It was so beautiful at the same time. Well, after that, I also went back to, I think, 6, 7 different lifetimes, and that was crazy. Everything moves so fast. The guy next to me, I remember, because at the beginning, I just started like going into like 6, 7 different past. It's not that I was just seeing the past lives. I became it. And one of them was a curandera, a healer that sang. So I was singing. But I think it was just a little too much. I remember they came to me, I think it was Sarah, and said, you can sing more internal. You can do it. You know how to do this. And one of those lifetimes, so one, was the shaman curandera that sung. There was also some lady that lost her kid that was crying. There was a vagabond in there, which I thought was interesting. That was just not happy. Like he was out in the street. I can't remember the other lives, but I went through 5 or 6 very quick, and just kind of like becoming it and just keep on moving. That was very, very intense. And the guy next to me, since I was moving so much, he literally sat down and he was just meditating next to me for my own purpose, just to make sure I was okay. So I thought that was interesting. So after that, do all 4 nights. So much is seen, so much is shown, so much is revealed. How do you take all of this? And, here I am. Like, oh my God, like I could never ever say that, oh, I'm a child of abandonment, I mean, those words have changed now, but that's what I had to see. And now, I mean, I see it completely different now. But even after that, it took about a year or 2 to really integrate that and own it with so much love, and just appreciate what I chose for me. because this is what I chose. I chose the perfect mother, the perfect father, the perfect family, all my cousins, everyone. I'm so thankful for all of them. They're playing the role exactly how it needs to be, especially the ones that are not in a spiritual path, because it is up to me to learn how to respect that and not bring them to me or force anything. And that has been very, very humbling. And that's where the service comes in. So you just continue remembering that it's you need to continue your path. So stepping into that power. What I've learned, I love Mother Ayahuasca. She is so nurturing, loving, but like a mother, she's teaching you too. And sometimes we're stubborn and we're holding on to our pain. And rightly so, because it's protecting us. It has led us up to this point. It has led you exactly where you need to be. So it's good. It just shows you so much love. So I have done ayahuasca afterwards. And some notable moments that I do want to bring up is I went back to being a 1-year-old. And here I am as a 1-year-old. You don't understand words because you don't know how to speak yet, but you can read vibration and frequency. So going back to being a 1-year-old and remembering how to feel. And it was my birthday, and I had my mom and dad who were still together, and they were singing happy birthday to me. And you can tell that their energies were still together and they were very happy. It was so beautiful. And then they had the cake. So definitely that was an initiation for me for the work that I had been doing. That was actually my second cake in an ayahuasca journey. So I thought that was very beautiful. And it changes you a lot when you can remember just being in your true essence. Kids can feel, we can see someone across the room and we know if they're mad or if something's wrong, if something's heavy, we feel it. So just remember that. Also, one of my journeys, just want to bring up some notable moments aside from my first week, was she had shown me so much already. And this was my third time going back to arrhythmia. And she told me all of a sudden everything stopped. It's like in the movies that you see, like time stops completely. Everything stops. Like there's no beat, there's no second. And very clearly she said, what else do you want? Basically, she had shown me so much. What else do I want? And that was incredible. That same night, I remember she showed me how I'm the one that is putting on all this burden on myself. No one's telling me to do this. I'm creating this for myself. So why am I making it more difficult for me? I think a lot of us do it, taking on extra responsibility, something that we don't need to, because life can be so simple. The 3 basic needs are eat, sleep, and reproduction. And with reproduction, obviously comes affection, all that, because that's what you need for reproduction. And it was so awakening, and just seeing how I'm the one that's creating extra work for myself. So this is one key, because sometimes you see things and you need to integrate. Don't go and quit your job right away. Don't go and move apartments. Let things settle. It's just showing you how you can do things differently. Doesn't mean that you have to change things right away. You're still learning. We're just babies. We're learning how to crawl. So that's a big recommendation that I can give you. Another thing is, sometimes she will tell you things. It can also show you things of what you should do or what could be better. And it's more the elemental, which I love, but you don't have to do everything she tells you to do either, because she's also testing you. Because I bet you'll do something and you come back and then you say, well, I really didn't want to do this. And then she's going to tell you, well, why did you listen to me? Yep, the joke's on you. Ultimately, everything is life is learning how to stand for ourselves and really bringing in our own sovereign power. Especially right now for everyone that's been working very much into spirituality, to gaining back their, when people talk about gaining back their sovereignty, their power as a divine being. And that really is not putting your power externally, not going out for so many answers. Literally just sitting down, close your eyes, meditate, make, vibrations, sing. There's different ways, and just connect and do the work. Right? It's so I had to learn that, because there's certain things that I felt like she was guiding me to do certain things. And then since I was doing other work at the same time, and this is not my first rodeo. I know I've done this so many times in other lifetimes. And I remember other times with other different techniques, being a priestess in Egypt. I just closed a 12,000 year cycle in Egypt. And basically, if the parents told me, you're done with the cycle, thank you. You came here what you did to do. You promised you would come back to help reconnect the network. No, you don't come back here. And that was harsh to listen to as well. So I've been going to Egypt so much in the last 6-7 months. It's been beautiful work. So I'm just going, even with that, day by day, see where it takes me. Other lifetimes as being an oracle in Avalon. I didn't understand why all of a sudden my soul was telling me to go to Glastonbury, and I've been wanting to go, but at the same time, there's this awesome retreat in Tulum that I wanted to go to, and it would be, it's warm beaches, great food, weather's amazing. And my soul's like, no, you need to go to England. I'm like, I don't even know if I can get in. The borders are closed. So I just listen. If you listen to your soul calling, go where you need to go and just walk the land. Things will start coming back to you. So we all have many different lifetimes. And obviously, for me, I'm Peruvian, so I have that lineage within me too. And more things are coming back. With ayahuasca too, it started really, really telling me how to listen to my body, listen to my womb, listen to the signs. Your body is always speaking to you. So I loved it because it was awakening, making even my body more intuitive. And my voice started opening up and singing. And a lot of activations were happening, a lot of releases. So DMT, it's the molecule that naturally we create, and we make so much of it in our body when we're first born, because it opens out that crown chakra for us to come in here, and then when we die. So that's why they call it the molecule of the spirit. Coming in from spirit, and we're leaving to spirit. And DMT helps us navigate through that, within our body. This is our vessel. This is our temple. This is our vehicle. This is our spaceship back to the ethers and the stars. You live on Earth. Why do we think it's so solid? I mean, we're literally spinning around the sun so fast. If it wasn't for gravity, we would literally fly out. I mean, we're in constant motion. If you really start thinking about what is happening, it's open up to the macrocosm, please. It will really help things more into perspective. All right, so some tips that I want to talk about is yes, find community. Finding community is so important after doing ayahuasca. Please find a community that you can talk to. Rhythmia has a good community because there's usually about, when I went the first time, there was like 60 of us. And the second time, sorry, there was about 70 of us. Find an energy healer. This one is big because so much energy goes through. You're going to have so many questions. And pretty much, oh, doggy, please watch out for, there's a lot of spiritual ego out there. If someone's telling you what you should and shouldn't do, that is your the red flag to look for. Any really good teacher or spiritual teacher is going to want you to find your own power, for you to be your own sovereign being. It's really going to help you and lead you that way. Otherwise, they're conditioning you. And there's so much conditioning that's happening out there. Even here, this girl just came and asked me if, I don't know, I need to go back to doctor school. I'm a gynecologist. I need to go back to Germany because I need 4 more years to graduate. I don't know if I should just stay here in Bali or just go. This healer told me that I should just leave it. If I like it here, I can just start another career. And I'm thinking, who are they to tell you what you should or shouldn't do? They don't understand. They were never in your shoes. They don't know your path. You have such unique codes. And yes, maybe right now what happens a lot, especially if you came from a corporate world, you came, from a disciplined path like medicine, you come into a complete different world where it's much lighter. You come to Bali, you go to India. It's a complete different life. So what happens is the pendulum swings, and all of a sudden you want to try something completely different. And you think when it spins too fast on the other side, you go to the other extreme, and now you're not liking your old life. It's about integration. You lived that past for a reason. Now it's time to integrate it. There's so many beautiful, high, vibrant spiritual beings that are not necessarily in what we call the spiritual world, that don't have to do ayahuasca, but they're vibrating so high, and they are playing important roles in all sectors of life, all of them. They just bring in that peace, whether it's finance, whether it's medical, whether it's agriculture, even on Wall Street, because you need that frequency. Everything, it's perfect. So that's one of my things. So yes, finding a good counselor, energy healer, start picking up tools, start learning. Someone that's going to teach you how you can become your own healer, that's going to help you through the journeys. And not just with ayahuasca, but even with, meditation or other types of medicines, or just as you get more connected even with the moon and your menstrual cycle. For women, all of a sudden, there's so much happening during those times of much higher frequency when portals open. So definitely, it's very important to have good teachers. I have many different paths. I've chosen myself, and it's been beautiful because there were different sisters that we all started at the same path. And I love how we all respect each other because we all have different interests, which is the whole point of this podcast. All things spirituality is to be able to bring in all the different branches. There's so many schools of thought. They all serve a purpose. See what calls you and dive into it. And then, if you want to continue, you continue. If you want to try something else, go ahead. There's just so many different tools out there. See what calls you. That is what's right for you. Whatever your soul is needing, whatever interest you have, there's something in store for you. Some tips that that you can do before you do an ayahuasca journey. I always say, if you can have a discipline, meditation, start meditating as much as possible. I mean, with any ayahuasca, they're going to have you do a dieta. So eat as clean as possible beforehand. Because the body's, everything's vibrating. So whatever you put in your body, either you can have a much higher frequency or much lower frequency. So very important. And this is something that you can just maintain for life. You don't necessarily need to keep this dieta for an ayahuasca. I remember someone told me I was an ayahuasca dieta. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, you can do ayahuasca because you're like, are you going to do an ayahuasca journey? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is how I live. I don't drink. I don't eat meat. I'm in vegan, but you don't necessarily have to do that. And it's okay if you eat some meat, do what your body needs to do, but just eat consciously. That's the most important thing. After doing ayahuasca journey, definitely, if you haven't started one before, do it after. Do it after and watch out for the spiritual ego. Actually, we all have spiritual ego coming out. So that's why a teacher is so important, because it's going to help you through the process, because you come out thinking you know so much and you just barely scratched the surface. You're just like a baby that's just tasted candy for the first time and all your sensors have been aroused. You don't know much yet. You don't know what the integration process is going to be. And then granted, the more you know, the more you realize that you don't know anything. And the more that we live in an illusion and it's all a dream. And I mean, that's another notable moment that I've had is I've been able to go to the dream many times. And that just humbles you, because it really makes you question when something is happening. You can't see anything as the victim anymore, because you're creating it. You are the creator. That's why you are the goddess creator. So please bring in your sovereignty. It is time, goddesses. How do you choose a shaman? It's up to you. It's pretty interesting to me how I've seen what people's first journeys are, what type of brew they take, who's their shaman, how many people there are, everything. It's perfect. Like, you receive it how you're supposed to receive it. My group, we had to go through ours was hard in a way. It wasn't dark. We had to be slapped around a little to like wake up. So we had some interesting stories in our group. And then I started working with the Hinikoin people. Oh, and they're so beautiful. Hinikoin are actually the largest tribe in the Amazonian region, stretching along Brazil and parts of Peru. And it's all about gratitude and love. And the shaman that we work with, Yube, I've never seen him mad. And I know people that have gone to the jungle, to his town, and he's always in a good mood and just keeping that balance. And he puts that love of gratitude and love into that brew, into the plant, so you feel it. So the first time I took it, it was so gentle, so loving. And there were many first timers. And I just thought it was so interesting that for them, this is how they had to receive it. Very gentle. And for me, I had to literally be slapped around, and I wasn't ready to see it. So everything's perfect. I had another girlfriend who, her first time was doing yahe. And I thought, what? That's harsh. Because like I said, my yahe night it took me so deep. I didn't think I was going to come back. And for her, it was good. That's exactly what and she's very gentle. She's very sweet. So I'm like, wow, this is hard for her, but she was fine. So everyone has different reactions. So everything's just perfect. Just remember, like attracts like as well. So just be aware. There's really not much I feel like that you can do. I mean, it is very, very important who you are sitting in a circle, though. And who is holding space, because yes, portals are open. So you do need a shaman that can hold that space where nothing can enter. That's very, very important. And Rhythmia does a good job, like the Hinikun people, the shaman that I work with, is amazing. And well, now, how often do I do ayahuasca? I actually went through my rebellious time of not wanting to. I'm like, I'm just going to do everything natural because I was having really incredible, profound states just by meditating. And, the plant's going to find you if you need it. So just be open-minded to it. And it was beautiful because the last time I did it, so now it's once a year, only if I need it, and I don't have to do 2 nights at all. So the last time I did it, I said, okay, now I have a complete different knowledge of who I was when I first started. My consciousness has expanded so much, but I know this is just the beginning as well. So I grabbed my highest self and I held my highest self hand and I said, okay, are you ready? I want to go to the astral planes. I want to go out. I don't necessarily want to be in the 3D world or the elemental world. I want to explore more outside. I've done a lot of exploring here. I want you to show me those spaces. And then I grabbed my little girl's hands, my inner child. And that, to me, that's what I work with a lot. It's my inner child and my highest self, just bringing all 3 parts of myself. And my highest self, said, yes, I'm ready. And my little girl said, she didn't even say anything. She just went and got really scared, put her hands together and started getting very small. And she wasn't ready to go. So I said, okay, let's sit with that. What's happening? What's wrong? And all of a sudden, it took me back to when I was 2 years old. I was in a bus in Peru. We were towards the front. My mom was sitting by the window. And I can see that I had eaten 2 out of 4 cookies, some type of like biscotti. But I wanted the rest, and my mom wasn't going to give it to me anymore. So I was left with that unsatisfaction, that craving. I still wanted more. So we sat with that. We understood that, of course. Yes, she has that desire. She's not satisfied. She's still craving that. So then I myself came down and I told her, okay, have we had enough? Have we had enough cookies already? We already had 2. And she said yes. That was so beautiful. Because even that weekend, it was 2 nights. And that was enough for me. I didn't have to do 2 more. And it really helped me understand why I still sometimes needed more. I was never satisfied, right? And I think we all have this. Sometimes you want more out of a relationship. You're given everything, but it's not something a partner can give you because there's something inside of you that's not satisfied. And for me, it was that little girl who still wanted to eat the rest of the cookies that her mom said, you've had enough. You don't need to eat all of it. That's enough sugar, honey. And it's up to us to go in and really discover what's happening there. Yes, you can do it through ayahuasca. There's different therapies. That's why inner child work, it's so powerful. I've done many inner child works now and working with different people. And it's very interesting how everyone interprets. It could be the same scenario, more or less, but the emotions that they feel are different. So different reactions that start developing. So I thought that was beautiful. And it really helped me out with my eatings and my addiction. Have I had enough? Okay, now it's easier for me to step away too. So it's that rewiring of the brain. Like I said before, and I'm going to keep repeating this, first it happens mentally, then it's emotionally, and then it's the body. So when you're able to integrate all 3, the mind, body, and your emotions with the soul level, so then you're able to align and everyone understands all parts of you And it's much easier to start developing new habits. So that was one of the best moments for me that I've had with ayahuasca as well. Well, what else to share? I think I've shared enough. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to support you in any way that I can. Choose you. See what calls your path. Ayahuasca is not for everyone. So also, don't make anyone, if they're not, don't force anyone to do it. The more you force them, especially if they're really against it, the more you're going to push them away from it. And it's beautiful because we do this all, if you're doing it with ayahuasca, it's because you do it in various different ways as well, where, you know, you've had like the song that you like, or you think the food's great, so you want everyone to like it because you like it. It's like we're all different. We're all learned in different ways. Everyone's playing different roles. So just see if it calls you. For me, yes, this was definitely my path, and it's helped me out tremendously. I've had some teachers, one in particular, who was very against ayahuasca, and she called it a drug. And she would say that if anyone came to her class, she would see the ayahuasca, which I get it, because yes, I mean, so much energy gets moving. She is amazing. She can read energy, and her work is like no one I've ever seen before. And I've worked with various different people, very powerful energy healer. But I thought it was interesting because I wouldn't have ended up in her 1-year program if it wasn't for ayahuasca, because my throat started activating, and that's how I found her, because she does a lot of work as well with vibration. And the second initiation that I had with her, that everyone gets it depending on where you're at and if you're ready to receive it, because everything is just universe coming in. And I had done ayahuasca, I remember, maybe a month before, and I was able to receive it. But it's more about the work that you're doing. And for me, especially during that second issue, I mean, a lot of my ego had come down, and I was being broken down to nothingness. So it really helped me see still part of, you know, the identities that I had. And there's always different layers, things move in spirals. So just be open to it and be grateful that this blind spot that you didn't know existed, now it's coming up. So to be let go and to be free. If it's coming up, love it, thank it, transmute it, put in the violet flame around it, transmute it, visualize it, turn it into love and high vibration. I love you all. Thank you so much. Remember that everything that is happening for our highest good. You are the God, Goddess, Creator. Take accountability. I love you so much. Take care. Bye.